What's going on, everyone? It's another episode of the WVSports.com podcast. I am Wesley Shoemaker, as always, with the one and only Keenan Cummings. What a win for the Mountaineers, Keenan. They opened Big 12 play, winning on the road in Allen Fieldhouse. I can't even say that with a straight face off the bat, beating Kansas 62-61. It was a game which the Mountaineers just controlled from the very start. It looked like it was going to be one of those times, though, that Kansas just got it going late there in the second half and gets the home victory. But somehow, some way, the Mountaineers prevailed. Javon Small with the clutch free throw, adding as much stress and anxiety possible after missing the first one with 1.8 seconds left, and then the Mountaineers holding on there. So they were without Amani Hansberry. They were without Tucker DeVries. They didn't get into Lawrence until 2 o'clock in the morning. They didn't have a shoot-around, Keenan, and they beat number 7 Kansas on the road. What are your reactions?
Just like we predicted on the show yesterday, right? Just like I think that credit West Virginia for holding on in the second half, but the first half of basketball was as impressive of an effort as I have seen in quite some time, considering the circumstances. West Virginia's in complete control. There was nothing fluky about it. They played great defense, moved the ball offensively. Second half, almost equally as impressive in a sense that this team gave up the lead. It's going to be lost kind of in the scuttlebutt, but this was a 2-point game with 6 minutes left. Kansas had rallied. You kind of got that, oh, here we go. They tried hard, but they couldn't get it done type deal. Nah, this team, they responded. And they responded in a big way. I think that there was a sequence there where KJ Tenner hit a floater. Yesufu goes down and hits a three. West Virginia gets a couple stops, and then they're back up 7 in the blink of an eye. So they held on. I got a little interesting there at the end. I thought that when they turned the ball over, I was going, oh, no, what's going on here? And, they were able to get a stop, get the ball back, make a couple free throws down the stretch, and really pull out I didn't think anything could top the Gonzaga win on the schedule at any point. But considering the circumstances, considering the history, just the house of horrors that Allen Fieldhouse has been for West Virginia, how many times has West Virginia seen that exact same scenario play out there? I understand different coaching staff, but still, you're wearing the West Virginia logo. How many times has that happened? At least 4 or 5, where they built a big first half lead and
2
then
overtime losses.
Yeah, 2 overtime. The one was just insane.
Yeah,
I don't want to sit here and rehash that right now, but it's happened before. So everybody that's sitting there saying, oh, here we go again. But again, you can't help but be impressed with what DeVries has done, here in his first year at West Virginia. It's unheard of, to go on the road and win this caliber of a game with that many pieces out. And I thought that they did a really good job for Kansas, especially in the first half. They had them really frustrated offensively. I think they shot 20-some percent, 29%, I believe. And they had a really tough time getting it going. Now, they figured out some things. They made some adjustments, went with the 2 bigs in the second half. But, you go down the list here of guys that may play. I want to, first of all, just Javon Small is just fun to watch. The guy knows how to control a basketball game.
He does everything you need him to do on the floor.
Yes, he doesn't have to score to control a basketball game either. He knows how to play. He knows exactly what he needs to do, where he needs to be, where he needs to get the basketball. You look at his stat line, I think he ended up with 13 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. They don't win that game without him. That sequence where he took the ball and went on the baseline, lost his footing, kept his footing, picked himself up, and then hit a baseline jumper. I challenge many people to do that.
He scored the final 7 points for West Virginia, all coming in the final 4:13 of the game.
Yeah, and obviously, again, how smart he is. The last play West Virginia had the basketball. He gets a matchup that's favorable for him against a freshman big, gets him to commit, goes up, draws a foul, missed the first one. You don't want to see that, obviously, but he made the second one. So I think that it says a lot about this team, to go in and pull off a game like this. I guess before we get into that, Eduardo Andre, guy played all but 6 minutes in this game. Hit the first half, he played absolutely exceptional. I thought
for a while there, he was outscoring Kansas himself.
Yeah,
he
the
played base way he's playing.
Was able to get baskets at the rim, also distributed the ball. Has proven to be a much better pickup than people thought.
And he was also very big on the defensive end. I know that's what he kind of was tabbed for coming in here this summer, when like the ability to protect the rim. But you saw that a few times, especially on those drives by Harris for Kansas. When their guards would drive, he just was a force down low. And he had a level of rim protection that we just haven't even seen from Hansberry even this year.
Yeah, he's your guy there. I think that, West Virginia did a lot of things right in this game. They only turned the ball over 6 times. This isn't your typical Kansas get out and run team or Gonzaga by any means, but they can score in transition, and they weren't able to get out in transition, especially off those really bad live ball turnovers. So I think that West Virginia held their own on the glass. They were winning on the glass for most of this game. They finished -1, but actually finished with more offensive rebounds, which, look at the size and what Kansas played with in the second half. You'll take that. But my general point here about this whole thing is one thing that Darren DeVries has said since he's been here, like quite literally, I think within his first couple quotes, and he's really stuck with it, is, he wanted his team to be tough, wanted his team to be gritty. He wanted his team to kind of always focus on the now and continue to improve. It's hard to argue that this team isn't improving. I mean, they were able to pull this off, and it took contributions from across the board. And you don't do that without a team bought in, a team first mentality. And I think that is almost as impressive to me in year one of the way that college sports works now than necessarily the win itself. He was able to get these guys. Now they had some extra time to prepare. I understand that, but he was able to get these guys and go on the road and do something that West Virginia's never done.
Yep.
They've never been able to win there, and they never trailed. Not once. They were tied one time, but they never trailed. And that in itself is just pretty incredible. New Year's gift for the West Virginia fans out there.
Yeah, I remember yesterday when we were talking, Keenan, you said, will Pat Sumnick be able to play? Well, Eduardo Andre basically had the same effect on Hunter Dickinson. This is 2 times in a row that West Virginia has played Hunter Dickinson and that they've been able to somewhat shut him out. I know we kind of got going there a little bit in the second half when Kansas went on their run. And I mean, on that run, Kansas went on a 15-2 run, Keno, and the Mountaineers didn't score more than 1 basket from the 13:05 mark until the 5:42 mark of the second half. And they still were able to come out with a win. Like, how many times can you go, just in general, go scoreless on the road in a conference game for like a 7 or so minute stretch and then still come out with a victory? As far as like players were shouting out, Jonathan Powell, I mean, the confidence that kid has to just go up there and shoot it, that was big time. Joe Yusufu, like returning back to Kansas, and he was big, especially early there, even on the defensive end, he was active. And then
all of them,
like you can go up and down. KJ Tenner, like everyone did something that positively contributed.
Other than missing the bunny, you can even argue Harris had a, given Andre, it was a effort. It really has this. And they don't without Small clearly, but they're bought in, and I don't know, we'll see how this continues, but I'm done predicting this team at this point, because I said that in my observations, like there's a list of things that I wouldn't have expected, and West Virginia to go into Kansas and win this game with who didn't play and everything that went into it, it would have been right at the top of the list.
And for what it's worth on the injury front, I mean, the ESPN broadcast did announce that Jaden Stone went through warm-up, so maybe that's a sign that he's getting closer. Hansberry, you would have to think, is somewhat of a day-to-day situation, given it didn't look too severe injury-wise, and he did warm up according to multiple reports there. So if you can get at least one of those guys back Saturday, that's a big one. And then you get 2 home games, Keenan. I mean, you talked about yesterday, I mean, we both agreed here that, you might have to beat Oklahoma State and treat that as a must win because you got to go to Lawrence to start this off. Well, now you kind of got the extra boost. Come home, take care of business, and then you're off to a great start if you're Darren DeVries in this thing ahead of what will then be a challenging back half of January. And so I just think it's really impressive on the DeVries front here of how there's been multiple times he's gone against top 10 teams this year, and he has adjusted and adjusted and adjusted and adjusted.
And they've won in different ways. I mean,
exactly.
They've found ways to do it.
And that's so impressive for a first-year head coach. He doesn't know the league. It's not like he came from another Big 12 school. This is his first time in the league, and he goes into the hardest environment in the league, and he gets it done. And I think even if they had lost this game, Keenan, yeah, I would have been disappointed, but we would have been able to have that same old line of, okay, but they showed some serious fight. No, you can put up a quad one win on the road at Kansas, and you get to 3 quad one wins on the year. It might stretch to 4 if Louisville happens to bump up here soon, which they very well could. And you've got 11 more opportunities for those, and none of us circled this one as a win, and now you have it. And I know we're 3 months out from Selection Sunday still, but that's when you think bigger picture with this team, a win like this and a win against Gonzaga goes a really long way.
Oh, it buys you some time. Now they've got to win more games. Obviously, the season does not make. But this is a win that I don't want to say you stole it because they earned this. This is just like Gonzaga. I don't want anybody out there to think that West Virginia did something, use some kind of magic, or they went out and they beat Kansas. And
it's not like there was a 16-6 free throw discrepancy.
Just as impressive as the Gonzaga game and what they were able to do to me. There was nothing fluky about this. West Virginia won this basketball game. They were the better team. Truthfully, the whistle might have made it a little closer than it probably should have been in some areas, but I think you get that at times in certain arenas. But
on the front of them being a better team, though, how about Kansas calling 2 timeouts in the first 8 minutes of the game? That is just unheard of, you know?
Yeah, and Self's really good out of those timeouts, too.
Yeah.
Typically, he gets his team motivated. I'm surprised he didn't take a tech. He's done that a few times playing West Virginia when they get out those runs, and then they come back just insane. So, I mean, the guy can coach. There's no doubting that. But it's starting to be very clear that Darren DeVries can coach pretty well also. So, I think that if you're West Virginia, this is a win that if you can continue to build on this, I don't want to say you've bought yourself some space, but you almost have in some of these toss-up games we were mentioning earlier. They're not as big of a necessity. Now you're going to have to keep winning, and we'll see how the roster shakes out, who comes back, who doesn't. Still stand by what I said. Without Tucker, it's going to be a lot more difficult. One game does not make a season, but if he doesn't come back, which if he's not coming back for this game, you start to wonder, when, if at all. But West Virginia has got a lot to build on here, and I think the way they're doing it is a sustainable method to win. I really do believe that. I mean, it's not just one guy. That wasn't Javon Small going out and scoring 40 points. It was a total team effort. And you get
he didn't make a 3-point basket.
Yeah, you get Hansberry back. I mean, that's a major piece to this thing. And then Stone, I mean, he can score the ball. So you get those two guys back, you can still win quite a bit of games, especially with really some of the just impressive coaching that we've seen, through the first 12 games of the season. I don't know if even me, I was optimistic on this basketball team as most people. I think, what did I predict? 18 wins?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. And I wouldn't have taken them starting 10-2. There's no way. So hats off. They've earned it. They need to be all over TV like they were when they beat Gonzaga, because what they pulled off today is really impressive.
Yeah, it's even more impressive given the circumstances, and the no excuses is what DeVries talked about after. And I think it's just a refreshing sight for so many people to see, like, this team is clearly bought in. They're bought into DeVries. They're bought into each other. And we've got 19 more of these in the regular season, and then hopefully some conference tournament games after that. And so this could really get fun if they get healthy and if they continue to come together. One more thing for me, Javon Small, like, on him, he was your leading rebounder, Keno, with 11 rebounds, and he was your point guard. That's just impressive effort all around. Hat tip to him and then some. We've seen this from him multiple times this year where he's just like exhausted every ounce of effort he has.
Played all 40 minutes.
Yeah, I'm curious if this grind might get to him or some of these guys, especially when they are lacking depth at certain spots. But the week break before this game helps. You've now got 4 days before a 2-game home stretch, and I'm imagining that crowd might be a little revved up to go on Saturday against Oklahoma State.
Yeah, and you mentioned the no excuses thing, and I think that's important in the sense that, you could make every excuse in the world. Even after a win, you could mention some of those things. Well, we did this, but look what all we had to deal with. That's from the top down. He wants his team not to focus on stuff like that. It's next man up. It's a common phrase, but they're living it. Guys are just stepping into roles. They understand that, it hurts. You don't have players out there, but somebody else has got to do it. And you can see it It's not talk. You can see it playing out on the floor, and you've seen it really since the start of the year. They're bought in, and I'm excited to see where this thing goes in year one, because who knows? Like I said, don't listen to me. I mean, clearly I didn't know what I was talking about, but it's going to be fun to see.
It will be fun to see. So that'll do it for this episode. West Virginia gives everyone a happy New Year's gift. We wish you a happy New Year from our folks at WVSports.com. Keep it locked. A lot of football happenings with staff, with portal, as well as now a big surprise on the basketball front. West Virginia versus Oklahoma State at noon at the WVU Coliseum on Saturday. But that'll do it for this episode of the West Virginia Sports.com podcast. I'm Wesley Shoemaker, joined by Keenan Cummings. And if you made it this far, we appreciate you listening.